back in my college days when I was sitting right where you are, if you had asked me about my future aspirations, I probably would have listed Hollywood film producer, or talent agent, or something similarly sexy and cool. The one thing I can assure you is that they definitely would not have included standing up here in this room before all of you talking about a horrifying disease called cystic fibrosis. It was a topic I didn't like thinking about, much less talking about. Frankly, the mere thought of speaking about it on such a public platform probably would have shot pangs of terror throughout my college-age body. No offense, and it's nothing personal, I swear, but Hollywood sounds much nicer, don't you think? But in all seriousness, as awesome as disease sufferer and activist sounds, this is not the track I would have chosen. And yet, here I stand, right up here in this room before all of you, sure enough, talking about a disease called cystic fibrosis. So you may be wondering, how in the world did you end up here? And are you sure this is really where you're supposed to be? The short answers are good questions and yes. But before I go into detail, let me first take a step back and formally introduce myself. My name is Emily. I'm 29 years old and I live in Philadelphia. I work at the Penn Social Media and Health Innovation Lab, and this May I graduated with my master's degree in bioethics. I also have cystic fibrosis. For those of you who aren't familiar, cystic fibrosis, or CF for short, is a fatal and progressive genetic disease that affects the lungs and digestive system. It causes thick, sticky mucus to build up in the lungs, leading to life-threatening lung infections. The average life expectancy for someone with CF is 41 years old, and that number is skewed upward by people with milder forms of the disease than mine. And you see, the funny thing about CF is that looks are deceiving. Standing here up here, you probably wouldn't guess that I have only 37% lung function, that I take over 30 pills, do 4 insulin shots, and 3 to 4 hours of breathing treatments each day. And that's when I'm healthy. There are no breaks, no days off, no vacations. When I'm sick, I go in the hospital for weeks-long courses of IV antibiotics. But I'm not here today to deliver a sob story. And contrary to what my younger self would have thought, and my talk thus far would have you believe, I'm actually really happy to be standing up here talking with all of you. And yes, I'm pretty sure this is exactly where I'm supposed to be. So I'd like to share a story to explain. It was the end of my sophomore year in college, finals period. And like every other college student at the time, I was on Facebook. From panicked and stressed to hopelessly grandiose to downright clinically depressed, I think it's safe to say that Facebook posts during finals period represent the very best and worst of human emotions, right? And there I was, scrolling through my feed, struck with an outlying emotion, envy. Envy because I wasn't buried with books in the library or cheersing another round of celebratory drinks with my friends at the campus bar, as I should have been. I was hooked up to an IV pole, potent antibiotics pumping through my veins as I lay, sick and exhausted, in a hospital bed, summoning the strength to fight yet another ravaging lung infection. The situation had become all too familiar. I found myself in the same place far too many times in college, sidelined from the activities I should have been doing because of crippling lung infections, the hallmark characteristic of cystic fibrosis. But this time was different. The infection was particularly persistent. Unable to bounce back like I usually did, I was forced to make the difficult decision to accept incomplete in every single one of my courses that semester. It was an excruciating decision for a chronic overachiever. To say that I felt beaten down would be a vast understatement. But there I was, watching my friends plow forward in life through my computer screen, tears of envy streaming down my face. I'm not going to sugarcoat this for you. The situation sucked, plain and simple. But the story didn't end there, and I think that's the critical part of this. The story rarely ends there. Sure enough, the semester ended with 4 glaring eyes emblazoned on my transcript. It took longer than normal, but my lung infection did end up responding to the antibiotics, and my body did end up eventually bouncing back. Thank goodness for that. And while my summer didn't end up being the blissful school-free zone that I originally led to my senior thesis and subsequent first job out of college, but perhaps even more importantly, uncovered an academic passion from within me that I never knew existed, and found a lifelong friend and mentor in my professor that remains strong to this day. That's the crazy thing about life. It's filled with all sorts of unexpected twists and turns, and sometimes leads you to places you never thought or necessarily even wanted to go. But sometimes those unexpected paths end up being the most beautiful. And so here I am, thrilled and grateful, and if I'm being totally honest, a little nervous to be speaking to all of you today. You see, I'm just an ordinary person, a little bit older than you, a person who happens to have a terrible disease, but whose life is defined by so many other things. A person who, like all of you will soon do, graduated college with big eyes and even bigger hopes and dreams for the future. Those dreams were, quite frankly, becoming harder to realize as I found myself getting progressively sicker a couple years ago. And that's when, for the first time in my life, it dawned on me. In the midst of inevitable progression of an ugly, merciless disease, I had a choice. I could accept the fate of my disease and passively continue down the path I was on, getting sicker and sicker, or I could take matters into my own hands and do something about it. I chose action. And while that didn't mean I could miraculously stop my disease progression in its tracks, or fight any more vigorously than I already was against the gruesome attack on my poor lungs, there was something I could do to accelerate research and grasp onto hope. That something was fundraising. So that's exactly what I did. In December 2011, my family, friends, and I leapt to action and formed emilys-entourage, a nonprofit organization that raises funds and awareness to help cure CF. Just 1 month later, the whole CF community got a huge boost when the FDA approved the breakthrough drug Kalydeco, the first ever treatment to address the root cause of CF rather than just its symptoms. Named the 2012 Forbes Drug of the Year, Kalydeco has proven to be an absolute game changer with the promise of extending lives by decades. For people on this new drug, they take 2 little blue pills each day that fix the underlying defect in CF. Those 2 little pills let them climb a flight of stairs without becoming breathless, resume their jobs, tackle marathons, and begin planning for a future they never thought they'd have. Those 2 little blue pills are literally lifesavers. Sounds amazing, right? And it is. But there's a catch, as Brandon and Jesse mentioned. Kalydeco only helps 4% of the CF population with one particular genetic mutation. Unfortunately, I'm not one of the lucky 4%. But the good news for the CF community doesn't end there. The development of Kalydeco has paved the way for more promising treatments. In fact, researchers are currently vigorously working on similar therapies for the most common CF mutation, which affects nearly 90% of the CF population, and they're extremely promising drugs in late-stage trials. What that means is that there's good reason to believe that in the very near future, nearly 94% of the CF population will have a life-extending drug like Kalydeco. And yet, even that won't help me. With a much less common genetic mutation of CF, I belong to the approximately 6% who won't benefit from any of these breakthroughs. The 6% for whom there are currently no promising treatments in development. The unlucky 6%, so to speak. So here I am, paddling vigorously underwater alongside my fellow CFers, knowing they're about to get thrown their lifesaver, and yet I'll still be here, treacherous waters crashing around me, my arms and legs getting weak and worn. This mix of emotions, the extreme excitement I feel for most of the CF community, who will soon be getting their lifesaver, and the bittersweetness that it won't help me, it presented a fork in the road, if you will. To my left, a large road sign on a well-paved path that read passive acceptance, and to my right, a less charted path covered in dirt and canopies of trees over top. That one named action. I glanced to my left, stared passive acceptance straight in the eye, and then promptly darted the other way. It was right then and there that I decided I wasn't willing to Thankfully, I haven't had to run alone. My extraordinary family and friends immediately sprung to the occasion and started running alongside me. It became their sprint too. And then something really extraordinary happened. Other people started joining our race. Friends of friends and friends of family, and suddenly our circle started to get a whole lot bigger. It wasn't just my mom or my sister or my best friend running by my side anymore. We were enveloped by a pack of people who invigorated our strides, boosted our spirits, and opened our eyes to even bigger dreams and possibilities for the future. These were people like the amazing Jesse Katz, Brandon Bass, Thomas Lynch, and Jordan Pilevsky, who bravely hopped on board early on and brought the rest of the Tulane family, all of you, with them. Before we knew it, people like Sally from Minnesota and Joe from Tucson joined our pack. And the craziest part, we don't even know Sally or Joe. The entourage was growing, our pace was quickening, our dreams broadening, and we were starting to gain traction. Traction that translated to real action. Since then, our collective efforts have raised over $630,000. In less than 2.5 years, $630,000 is absolutely mind-blowing. And that's a really good thing, because for us, this racing business isn't a hobby or a do-good, feel-good charity effort. It's not about dutifully signing another check in support of yet another walk or showing up to a charity event to see and be seen. For us, this is a race against time. It's the fight to save my life and the lives of my beautiful CF compatriots who are fighting this disease right by my side. It's painfully personal, it's unapologetically desperate, and it's the only way I know of to productively deal with what it means to be a 29-year-old with big eyes, a bright future, and a fatal disease. You see, if there's one thing I've learned on this journey, it's that bemoaning the things you can't change in life is a waste of time and energy. You get a lot farther and feel a lot better if you focus your energy on the things you can change, if you choose the road of action. For most 20-somethings, it won't be a fatal disease that presents a fork in the road, and thank goodness for that. But all of you will face countless decisions and challenges that test your spirit and your character in ways you never before imagined possible. Some may be tiny and others gigantic. And as you face these key decision points in life, these forks in the road, I encourage you to pause and do the following. Open your eyes, reach into your heart, and believe in your power to make a difference in the world. The path of action might be harder or more unknown. It might require nestling through trees and being pricked on the way, and it probably will be really terrifying at points. But if you dare yourself to dream, to take leaps of faith and assert your agency and drive to make a difference, I'm willing to bet you'll find the rewards can be pretty spectacular, and that you are powerful, remarkably so. For me, the amazing thing emilys-entourage has given me is a way to channel negative emotion into an incredibly productive outlet, to transform what could be crippling fear and sadness and distress about the uncertainty into something infinitely bigger and more powerful. Hope. Hope not just for me, but for everyone who is waiting with bated breath for their lifesaver too. But before I move on, I want to emphasize, I didn't start this journey in pursuit of hope, or even with the intention of starting a journey at all. Far from it. It started with a little decision, on an otherwise unremarkable day, to use my story to raise some money and to do it with a video. I wish I could say the way emilys-entourage has unfolded was all craftily premeditated, that we had some sort of master plan driving it all, but I'd be lying. We turned to email and social media in the beginning merely because they were the only ways to instantaneously reach thousands of people across the globe with a click of a finger for free. We were working with what we had, and what we had wasn't much, save for passion and fierce determination. Now that we had in bucket loads. From the very beginning, our slogan was donate, pass it on, make a difference, and we really meant it. We wholeheartedly believed in our message, and we were asking people to pass it on to everyone they knew to spread the message like wildfire. pouring in. Within 1 week, we raised over $40,000, and that's when we realized we were onto something big. Something so big, in fact, that we could no longer manage it alone. So we took the natural next step. We rallied friends and other family members and formed a board of directors. New people brought new ideas and fresh energy, and in a spur-of-the-moment decision, we impulsively decided to throw our first fundraiser in December 2012. That crazy decision ended up attracting over 350 people and kickstarting year 2 of emilys-entourage, which brought our fundraising total to nearly $200,000 in just over 1 year. Then, in a random conversation, one of the board members, who just so happened to be a scientist, offhandedly suggested using my blood cultures to create a cell line, which would allow researchers to study my genetic mutation of CF. The idea stuck, and so soon after, a lab at the University of Pennsylvania drew blood cultures and created a cell line with my DNA. I'm beyond excited to report that we're now shipping that cell line to labs across the world to spur drug research and trials for me and the rest of the outlying 6%. This, my friends, is groundbreaking stuff. And it all started with one random decision, a decision to turn right onto the path of action, a decision that kicked off a cascade of other unforeseen decisions, a decision that created ripples upon ripples. But what you might not realize is that you're a big part of this rippling movement. All of you, each and every single one of you, made an important decision to show up tonight. Many of you already bought EE tanks this week or posted the EE logo as your Facebook profile picture, and hopefully most of you are planning to come to the big benefit Saturday night. Those may seem like small, inconsequential, or maybe even self-serving decisions, but if that's what you're thinking right now, then I'm going to show you why you are very mistaken. It is precisely those same itsy-bitsy decisions that have collectively resulted in over 3,000 Tulane students owning a tank with that little hot air balloon of hope. And the Tulane community alone raising well over $35,000 and counting. And I'd argue in reality, it's actually much more than that, because your success has inspired 6 other college campuses to follow in your footsteps and bring EE onto their campus. The ripples are spreading and they're getting stronger. The tide is rising and it's reaching a level where we're starting to create major waves in the fight against CF. Waves that turn things upside down and make real change in the world. And that's amazing, but we need something even bigger. We need a tidal wave. Because despite my best efforts to slow the progression of my disease, CF is relentless and it's cruel. Currently, I'm teetering on the verge of end-stage CF, where the only treatment option is lung transplant, and even that brings a whole new set of complications and short survival rates. I am working as hard as I possibly can, throwing everything I have into this fight for me and everyone like me, but I need a breakthrough, and I need it fast. And if there's anyone who can rally people and mobilize change, it's you, the incredible people of New Orleans and Tulane University. I know because you've shown it time and time again. You showed it when you withstood a devastating assault of the most epic proportions, and then united together to rebuild this treasured city and campus to its glory again. And on a personal level, you showed it when you embraced emilys-entourage from the very beginning, made it your own, and infused your trademark vibrancy and spirit into this collective fight. I'm convinced, and I think the world is convinced, that there's something special here in New Orleans on this exceptional campus, in this very room tonight. I believe in you, I believe in your passion, and I believe in your power. And I believe that you can be the pivotal force that transforms these waves into one of the biggest magnitude, a tidal wave, maybe even a green one. So I stand before you tonight asking, pleading for 3 things. 1, will you take a chance and embark on this unexpected, twisty, turny journey with me? 2, will you always believe in your power to make the world a better place by daring to take the path of action? And 3, will you give us the final push we need to transform these waves into a tidal wave? We are so close, and you, my friends, have the power to help us get there, to bring this growing tidal wave crashing to the shore, the Gulf Shore, where sunshine and lounge chairs careers and kids await, and most of all, where we will all breathe easier. Thank you, party on,